Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hugger AJ Rave, and I'm here with my recap and review of Raised by Wolves season number 2, episode number 7, which is titled Feeding, and this is the penultimate episode, and it was very intense, it was very fun, and I am, of course, looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the finale because I am ready. And I'm not really sure if the show has been renewed for a third season. Maybe the news is out there and I missed it, but I really hope that if it hasn't been picked up, I hope that it gets picked up for a season number 3 because I want more. I need at least 5 seasons, but let's see what happens. Anyway, episode number 7, it opens up with Paul bringing that mysterious, creepy looking fruit to one of the encampments, and he's like, "Oh, this is the fruit that I brought over from Sector 7. It has been tested. It is safe. I want you all to start eating." And they do. They really do. And I'm like, "Aren't you like creeped out when you look at what's inside the fruit?" But it feels very fleshy, but people are still eating it. And yeah, Paul is just looking at them eating it, and then he notices Campion talking to this team because they are getting ready to go towards the shoreline in order to retrieve Tempest's baby back. And I wasn't expecting that to happen. I wasn't expecting an actual rescue mission to happen because my theory was that the baby ended up being kidnapped by the sea creature, and because the baby was undergoing rapid growth, then we might end up seeing an older baby coming out from the sea, all being all immune to acid and whatnot, and coming out of the sea like 3 or 4 year old. But yeah, that theory didn't work. Anyway, Paul notices Campion looking at the fruit as well, and I think Paul waits a bit, you know. My bad. Paul waits a bit in order to see whether or not Campion actually eats the fruit, but he says no, and Paul just runs away. He meets up with Marcus, and Marcus is using the binoculars in order to see what's going to happen after the people eat the fruit. And Paul is like, "Okay, so is something happening? Are they changing? Are they going to believe in Saul now?" And Marcus is like, "Paul, frankly, nothing really happened to us when we ate the fruit, right?" And Paul is like, "Well, we were already believers. I feel that when people will eat this fruit, they will end up believing in Saul as well." And you can kind of tell that Marcus's faith in Saul, it's weakening, especially after he witnessed what happened to Sue in the previous episode. So we cut to the shoreline rescue party, and everyone is there. And this is where Hunter explains that he ended up modifying an android in order to create a drone. And the drone, even though it's not very resistant to acid water, it will be able to survive at least a few minutes. And hopefully they'll get lucky in order to see where Tempest's baby is. So while all of them are talking, this is where one of the hunters working for the rescue team comes in, and they're like, "Yeah, we captured a creature." And father is like, "No, that's not a female, that's a well-fed male, so we need to keep looking." And Tempest is like, "Please give me your knife." And he does, and Tempest ends up skinning the creature, and Hunter is like, "What are you doing, Tempest?" And Tempest is like, "Well, we can use the creature's skin in order to protect the drone so that it will last inside the acid water for longer. And yeah, it's far better than ordinary shielding." And it's a smart move. It's a smart move. You can tell that Tempest really wants to know what happened to her baby. Yeah, I had to take an important call. Things are happening. Anyway, back to the recap and review, and I really hope that I didn't miss anything, and if I did, I apologize. But anyway, so Lambda is out there in her necromancer form, and she ends up noticing the tree. She lands near the tree, and yeah, she can detect the heartbeat coming from the tree, and she realizes that this is Sue. So Sue's dead. Sue is basically part of the tree now, and she does feel unhappy because Sue and Lambda, they were friends, kind of. They respected each other. They were friends, and yeah, Mother liked Sue, but she's dead now. And even Sue is like, "Why did you hear the signal? Why did you listen to it?" So while that's happening, Hunter ended up covering the drone that he created with the skin of the acid creatures, and he ends up sending the drone underwater, and we get to see this visual with the drone swimming here and noticing the acid creatures down below, and they end up. I think this is the hole in the ground in the water. I guess I could be wrong. The visuals might be, yeah, I'm not really sure, but yeah, they detect the hole But before they can learn anything further, the drone ends up not sending any signals. The signal gets cut off, and father is like, "Hey, don't worry, don't worry. The drone has been programmed to return to the surface if it loses signal. So Campion, why don't you go around and see if you can find the drone?" And Campion does. He walks to find the drone, and this is where he notices someone pick up the drone and run away with it. He calls out, and it turns out that it's Veril, and yeah, Veril's back, and she has this mask on her face because we know that the actual Veril's face ended up being torn off from her. So she's wearing this mask, and Campion is like, "Hey, that drone belongs to us. Also, what are you doing here? How are you? Are you okay?" And Veril and Campion kind of quickly greet each other, but father and the rest come near, and Veril is on the defensive, and Veril is like, hey, I need to get out of here. And Campion is like, no, wait. But before that can happen, Holly butts in, and Holly is like, "Oh no, she's dangerous, she killed everyone, she's a murderer, she even tried to kill me and whatnot." And Veril is like, "Yeah, that did happen, but those people were trying to kill me, so you can consider it a delayed self-defense mechanism." So anyway, Campion is like, hey, Veril isn't dangerous. She can help us and whatnot. And Veril is like, "Yeah, I can help you," because at first I thought that my programming was malfunctioning, but I swear that I ended up hearing a baby's cry like 4 miles from here. So I can take you to the baby. And father is like, let's think about it. But yeah, Tempest, because she wants to find her baby, Tempest is like, "Yep, I trust Veril. Let's go. Veril, lead the way." So Veril leads the way, and father, Hunter, and Tempest and Campion walk after Veril, while Holly and Vita stay behind. And while that's happening, this is where Paul looks at a tree, and Paul is like, "Well, why isn't anything happening? Why is the heartbeat fading? Why hasn't Saul returned Mom back to us?" And this is where Marcus is like, "Well, I think I made a mistake. I have been trying to search an answer against the darkness, but it could be that Saul himself is the darkness, and Saul doesn't care about us." So basically, in this episode, you can see Marcus's faith waning. It's weakening, and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of okay with this. If Marcus ends up realizing that the person that he's been communicating with you, it's not actually Saul, it's just some weird alien being sending the signals, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Marcus trying to become the good guy, but let's see what happens. So Mother comes back to camp, and she notices everyone eating the fruit, and she's like, "Let it go, don't eat the fruit, don't eat the fruit," but people aren't necessarily listening to her. Then she notices Vita eating the fruit, and she's like, "Vita, stop!" And Vita does stop, and Mother is like, "Vita, are you feeling okay? Do you feel that something is wrong with you?" And Vita's like, "No, nothing's wrong with me, I don't necessarily know." And Mother tells Holly to take Vita to the medical bay, and then she notices number 7 being agitated, and she goes to check number 7, and number 7 wants to come out of its cage. And Mother is like, "What are you doing, number 7? And she notices that number 7 wants to get to the fruit that Paul brought. And yeah, number 7 actually busts out the prison. Mother falls to her back. Number 7 eats the fruit, and it flies off. And I'm like, uh-oh, it's making its way to the tree, isn't it? So while that's happening, because Paul is sleeping against a tree, and of course he's very, very worried that his mom's heartbeat is weakening. It's basically dying, I guess. And this is where Marcus and Paul end up hearing a transmission coming from the walkie-talkie, and Marcus is like, "Well, that walkie-talkie doesn't really work." But no, they hear a voice, and Paul is like, that's mom. So basically Sue is trying to communicate with them, and I'm like, okay, so Sue is still alive, huh? Maybe she'll come out of the tree, but that doesn't happen. Anyway, Marcus is like, shh, let me hear. So Sue is basically telling Marcus to burn the tree, burn the tree. And before they can do that, they hear number 7 coming near, and Marcus is like, "Paul, go and hide right now." And Paul goes and he hides. We see number 7 on top of the tree, and Marcus tries to burn the tree, but it's kind of too late, and you can see that the tree ended up changing its form, and it ended up lengthening itself so that it's easier for number 7 to eat it. And yeah, number 7 does eat it, and I was like, wow. So actually that's what's going to happen. I wasn't expecting number 7 to eat the entire tree, but it happens. And after eating the tree, number 7 ends up being weaponized and becoming this weird snake tentacle-like creature, Cthulhu vibes going on. And yeah, Marcus and Paul are like, "What the heck are we going to do now?" And then they notice Mother coming to the scene, and Mother ends up facing off against number 7, and I was like, okay. I mean, I think all of us knew that Mother wouldn't be able to defeat number 7 so easily. She tries to scream at number 7, but she stops because her caregiving programming butted in, because it still thinks that number 7 is Lambda's child, and of course Lambda can't harm her own child. But yeah, because she's the one who doesn't scream, number 7 does scream, because number 7 also has traits that it inherited from Mother, and Mother ends up crashing to the ground, and number 7 just flies off in its weaponized form now. So Father and the rest are walking, and you can see Veril in the background, and of course Hunter also brought his own android, and yeah, that android needs to be repaired a bit. And this is where Father is like, okay, so you ended up giving your own medallion in exchange for this android. Why isn't the android not useful? It's useless. And Hunter is like, well, I needed an android because I wanted someone to lift heavy things for me because I'm moving out. And Father is like, why would you want to move out? And Hunter is basically saying that, you know what, it's not like you're around that much. You end up spending a whole lot of time in that shed of yours. Campion is out there thinking that androids are actual beings. Holly has her own issues to deal with. Everyone has their own issues to deal with, and you could have steered these children correctly, but you weren't there, Father. You weren't there. And I'm like, I guess Hunter kind of has a point. So while that's happening, Campion and Veril end up talking, and this is where Veril is like, you know what, Campion, I am going to do this for you, because I want to prove my worth to you. And Campion is like, no, it's not necessarily for you to prove your worth. And Veril is like, no, it is necessary. Everyone has to prove their own worth in order to find a place, and I want to join your family, so of course I'm going to prove valuable enough for you to keep me around. And Campion is like, okay. And this is also where Campion ends up talking about Veril killing those people, and Campion is like, okay, so did those people attack you because you helped me? And Veril is like, no, I don't want you to think that, because I don't want you to think that I only bring violence and pain and whatnot. And yeah, I want you to think that I bring happiness. And I'm like, oh, she's trying to keep her connection with Campion. So this is where our group over here, down here below. Here, I think you guys can see them, right? So anyway, they end up noticing an electrical storm, and they're like, okay, so I feel like that thing is this thing. If you guys can see, maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Yeah, here. So they're like, you know what? It's headed our way. So maybe we should stop. And Tempest is like, no, we're going to find my baby. How much further? And Veril is like, we're quite close now. So of course they keep on walking. And while that's happening, Marcus and Paul end up finding Mother on the ground. She's in her normal state again, and Marcus is like, well, she's still functioning. Let's put her in the tank. And that's what they do. And as Lambda is being repaired a tiny bit, she comes online, and this is where Marcus and Mother end up having a conversation about what the heck they have to do about the snake now. And yeah, Mother ends up coming clean, and she's like, well, that thing, I gave birth to it. It's number 7, so my caregiving programming didn't allow me to hurt it. And Marcus is like, oh no, what the heck are we going to do now? And this is where Mother ends up telling Marcus that Father ended up repairing this very, very ancient android that has technology that's far superior than mine. So maybe that android can help reprogram me so that I'll have a chance against the snake. And Marcus is like, okay, I think we can work with that. And if you need my help, I'm here for it. So yeah, again, I think that Marcus is going to become a good guy. Maybe he'll sacrifice himself in order to protect Paul and the rest of the children. Who knows? So Veril ends up taking them to the cave where she heard the baby's cries from, and not necessarily everyone. Yeah, Veril and Campion stay back while Hunter, Father, and Tempest go in. And Father didn't want Tempest to go in, but she's like, no, I'm coming in. And of course they have weapons, so I'm like, you know what, at least they're trying to keep themselves safe. So they notice the baby, and it turns out that it wasn't actually a human baby, it was a creature baby. So basically, from what I can understand, that female creature ended up giving birth to a child. That child died, so it's basically replacing her own dead child with the human baby. So yeah, it's nothing new, but it made sense. The entire narrative thing made sense. And Hunter is like, we'll find your baby, Tempest. And Tempest is like, yeah, let's keep going. So while that's happening, Campion is like, you know what, even though we didn't find Tempest's baby inside the cave, Veril still helped us, right? We need to keep Veril around us. And Tempest and Hunter are like, no, 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 Campion, Veril is very dangerous. We can't just keep her around. And of course, Veril is listening to all of this. And Father is like, you know what, I'm going to have a conversation with Campion. Tempest, Hunter, keep Veril calm. And they walk towards Veril. And while that's happening, Campion and Father talk to each other. And Father is like, you know what, Campion, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but Veril is dangerous. We can't keep her around. And Campion is like, no, 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 we have to. And emotions are a good thing. Android feels emotions, and your emotions matter too, Father. Basically, as far as Campion is concerned, again, he thinks that androids are actual living, breathing beings. So while they're having a conversation, Hunter is unable to keep Veril calm, and Veril runs away, and of course Campion goes after her. And then we switch to Marcus and Paul. They're in the tank, and they end up connecting with another tank not so far away. And yeah, the tank is like, well, I think we're being chased by an electrical storm, so I guess we have to brace ourselves. And Marcus is like, no, 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 abort, retreat, that's not an electrical storm, that's a snake, it got weaponized, run away, avoid. But now it's too late, and the snake ends up attacking the tank. And this is where Marcus is like, well, it looks like the snake is heading towards the shoreline, away from us, we'll be safe. And Mother is like, no, 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 my family is out there looking for Tempest's baby, I have to go protect them. And Marcus is like, well, you can't fight the snake in this state of yours, so first we go back to the tarantula, we reprogram you, and then you can go out and kill the snake. And of course, Mother has no choice in the matter. And the snake ends up coming near, and yeah, it screams, it uses a necromancer scream. Tempest and Hunter are able to avoid it, but it hits Father and he falls down the cliff, while Campion is still running after Veril, and he ends up finding Veril in the tank that Seven ended up attacking. And Veril is of course malfunctioning, and Campion is like, are you okay, what's happening? And Veril is like, yeah, I ended up being in the range of the necro scream, so my systems are like fried at this point. So this is where Veril is like, you know what, I feel that the snake is basically after you, it's detecting you, so you need to hide, it's picking up your scent. So these two end up hiding inside the tank, and then these two have a conversation about how where Campion is like, well, when it was little, it was very kind, it was friendly, I'm not really sure what happened to it. And Veril ends up telling a bit of her own past, not her own past basically, but Veril's past, about how Decima was basically profiting from weapons of mass destruction or something, or weapons that were destroying Earth. And when the actual Veril ended up finding out what her mother was doing, she ended up taking her own life. And she's like, you know what, Campion, I don't want you to do something rash either. And Campion is like, no, I won't do that, I'm not like that, even though I am disappointed in my mom with how she ended up keeping Seven a secret, and that how she ended up giving birth to Seven and whatnot. I won't be ending my own life. And then these two talk about how androids have a soul too, and Campion is like, yeah, Veril, you have a soul too, I can feel it. And Veril's like, well, you know what, sometimes I can feel that too. And basically their conversation actually tells that Seven is jealous of Campion. So I guess Seven wants to destroy Campion so that it can have all of Mother's attention for itself. That's what I'm getting. So Mother, Marcus and Paul end up entering the tarantula, and Mother is like, I need to go, I need to go and get repaired and whatnot, but also tell me, did you make contact with Father? Are they back? And the woman that she's next to, she's like, no, we lost contact with Father. And yeah, Mother is like, I'm wasting time. So this is where these two end up talking about how Father is the best, most durable service model ever built. And yeah, Father ends up telling the truth about Seven to Tempest and Hunter, and he's like, you know what, that thing came out of Mother, she gave birth to it, we kept it a secret from you, and yada yada yada, it's dangerous and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, at least now everyone knows about Seven, huh? And then this is where Father is like, wait, I think I'm hearing something. And he ends up hearing a baby's cries, and he goes after the sound, and they enter the cave. And yeah, this is where they end up finding the baby, and the female creature is actually feeding the baby. And Tempest is like, you know what? let's go. Because Father's plan was that he's going to shoot the creature in the head, and then Tempest and Hunter are going to run towards the creature in order to take the baby away so that the baby isn't crushed if the creature decides to fall on the baby when it dies. But yeah, Tempest is like, you know what, I can't do this, I don't want you attacking the creature. And this is where Tempest ends up making her case. And I understand where Tempest is coming from. Tempest is like, maybe this is the best for my daughter. Maybe that creature is supposed to raise my daughter. And Hunter is like, what the heck are you talking about? And yeah, Tempest is like, I won't be able to be a real mother to that baby. I won't be able to love her, because whenever I see that baby, I end up seeing him. Him meaning the person that ended up sexually assaulting Tempest. And I'm like, yeah. Even though Tempest's entire storyline, in my opinion, hasn't been the most well written, there were certain scenes that could have come across as insensitive to some people, especially after what Tempest has been through. But I think that the writers kind of did a good job of explaining Tempest's thought process, and how she was like, you know what, even though I gave birth to that child myself, and even though I held that child in my arms, I'm just not feeling any motherly instinct towards the baby. And that makes sense, especially after the trauma that Tempest has been through. And one of the things that I was kind of afraid of was the writers making Tempest love the baby, as if birthing a baby after sexual assault magically cures your past trauma. So in that, when you look at the Tempest story in that context, I think that the writers did a good job. Could it have been better? Of course, but they did what they had to do. They got the message across that, you know what, Tempest isn't into raising the baby, and she's actually fine with giving the creature the baby, because the creature actually wants the baby, because the creature lost her own baby. And Hunter is like, no, that's not happening. But yeah, he's like, Father, talk some sense into her. And Father is like, no, the ultimate decision lies with Tempest. So Tempest and Father are coming out of the cave, but yeah, Hunter goes back and he ends up shooting the creature, and he picks up the baby and he tries to give it to Tempest, and Tempest is like, no, I can't do that. And I'm like, Hunter, I guess you'll be the one taking care of the baby now. And also you need to respect Tempest's wishes. So after the creature has gone, because I guess it lost track of Campion's scent, Campion is like, yeah, let's go. And Veril is like, where the heck are you going? The encampment is that way. And Campion is like, no, that creature is following me. I'm not going to put anyone else in danger, so I'm going to lead that creature away from the camp. So are you coming? And Veril is like, yeah, I'm coming with you. So Mother ends up talking to Grandmother, and she's like, Grandmother, did the people who made these cards the same people who made you? And Mother is like, yeah, the technocrats. They ended up fighting the believers, and they had a lot of hope for humanity, and that's why they created us, so that we can steer humanity in the right direction as the stewards. And they're the ones who created me. And then this is where these two have a conversation about Seven, about how the creature got weaponized and whatnot, and this is where Grandmother is like, okay, so you're telling me that the creature also has emotions? And yeah, Mother is like, yeah, because it came from me. I gave birth to it. Of course it has emotions. So basically, Mother wants Grandmother to reprogram her so that her caregiving functions don't interfere with her wanting to kill Seven. And Mother is like, you know what you want? It would be helpful for you if you wear my veil, and that, because my veil, when I wear it, that stops emotions from impacting logical decisions. So are you ready to wear my veil? And Mother is like, yeah, let's do that. Let me wear your veil. And I'm like, yep, maybe with the veil gone, we'll finally be able to see the actor or the actress who's playing Grandmother. So Veril's systems are breaking down. She's like, you know what, my spine is going to be impacted next, and after that I'll be in permanent shutdown. And she ends up writing memories of Veril that she ended up collecting throughout the years after reading the journals. And she's like, yep, I don't want my life to mean nothing. I don't want Veril's life to be nothing. So I want to preserve a record. And she starts writing quite quickly, and Campion is helpless. Campion is like, I can't help you. And Veril's spine gives way and she shuts down, and Campion tries to hold her. And yeah, this is where the episode ends, with Seven still flying in the sky, because I think it picked up on Campion's scent again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the finale. Mother, I guess, is going to come in wearing a veil in order to fight Campion. But yeah, anything can happen at this point. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the episode down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later. Bye.